Hello, and welcome to the introduction to the Makaira storefront. I am Alex, front-end developer, and in this and other videos, I will show you what the storefront is, what you can do, and, most importantly, how you can work with it. To get you started, I would like to give you a technical insight into which tools to use, and, of course, what knowledge you should ideally have. So, don't let us wait long, but start straight away. So, the storefront itself is based on Next.js. Next.js is a framework, which in turn is based on Express.js and React.js, and provides us with many of the features we need to run the storefront. For example, server-side rendering or routing, or the fact that we can primarily write the client-side code in React.js. For you, this means that if you are not yet that familiar with Next.js, or are just hearing about it for the first time, then I highly recommend that you go to nextjs.org and get hold of the documentation, or the Getting Started guide there provides an initial overview of what this framework can do and what it offers. Because, as I said, this is the technical foundation of the storefront. As you can already read here, the React framework, that means React.js plays a big role here. React.js is also a JavaScript library or a framework, whatever you want to call it, and, as I said, plays a very elementary role in our code. That means for you, if you are not yet that familiar with React.js, here's the recommendation. reactjs.org and work through the Getting Started guide here so that you are familiar with what you will then find. You will also find both links to Next.js and React.js below the video. With this, the technical structure of the storefront will be more clear. As I said, it's Next.js and React.js, and you don't necessarily have to master both technologies, but at least know what they're about. Then you'll be able to work relatively well with the storefront. The technical setup also includes the knowledge that the storefront itself is intended for use in a headless system. That means a setup where the front end is separated from the back end, and we get all data in the front end via APIs. What you can see here, for example, I set up the storefront locally in the standard setup with demo data. Everything you see, the menu items, the content, the texts, the product information in these tiles, so to speak landing page content that we see here, but also category page information such as these product tiles, detailed pages with product descriptions or with product recommendations, and a search functionality. All this information does not come from a shop system because we do not render the storefront in a shop system, but the tool stands on its own. The data comes via an API, in our case the Makaira API. That means here too that you should ideally have a certain basic understanding of what Makaira is and what it can do, because the functionality of the storefront is very closely linked to the data Makaira can deliver. Because we operate the storefront in a headless approach, a shop system behind it is only relevant when we interact with the checkout. That means whether you have an Oxid, a Shopware, a Shopify, or another shop system, what we have here plays a subordinate role for the rendering of the shop front end. We usually only interact with the shop system itself if, for example, I want to interact with the checkout or with the shopping cart. This means that if I want to put products in the shopping cart, then of course I need an interaction with the shop system, because I have to say to the shop system via the shop-specific API, "Hey dear shop system, please put this product in this variant into your session." And to visualize this briefly, I've prepared a small graphic. Here we see the user in the browser with the storefront, and behind it with the Next.js, which then receives information about landing pages, products, categories, and manufacturers via API call to the Makaira API. And also a lot more information, while we also have API calls to the shop system. This mainly affects the checkout area. Of course, Makaira has to have the data first. So all the products that I want to display, the category information, all of that has to come from somewhere, and it usually comes from the shop system. That means there is a sync, to put it simply, between the shop system and Makaira. However, this is not relevant for us in this video guide in this series because here we simply assume that the data is already in Makaira, and we can really take care of displaying the shop front end. With that, we have almost reached the end of the video. So you saw, the storefront is meant to be used in a headless approach. It gets its data via APIs. It does not store any data itself, i.e., you do not have a database directly belonging to the storefront. We receive all the data that we receive from third-party systems that we address via APIs, and, as I said, the technical foundation is Next.js and React.js. What all this means in detail. What exactly happens, for example, if I call up the start page here, a landing page? How does the storefront know what to display here? Where does the content I want to display come from? We'll take a closer look at all of these things in the next few videos. That means we'll walk through the code, I'll walk you through the core concepts, and you'll get a glimpse of how to work with the storefront. That will also be the topic of the next video. There, I will show you how you can set up the storefront locally and what you need to be able to work. Thank you for listening and watching, and I'm already looking forward to the next video.